We were a $9 million business. And in 4 years' time, we were a $900 million business.
Wow. 9 to 900.
We grew bigger than Adidas. We grew bigger than Nike. We became the #1 shoe globally. I'm not an entrepreneur in the start, scale, sell, repeat. That's not me. I'm a brand builder. A brand builder wants to see that brand do something.
70s and 80s, great for Reebok. But in 1989 is when you left Reebok.
By that time, we were at a $3 billion business, and Reebok needed money.
11 years to get into the US market.
When you go anywhere, you have to offer something different. Everything has to be first class. We said, if you don't think these shoes are the best shoes you've ever worn, we'll give you your money back.
If you could go back in time, what things would you change about the Reebok story?
Well, we overtook Adidas. We overtook Nike. We became #1. What's to change?
Let's first start with a poll in the audience. How many of you have, at one point in your time, worn the Reebok shoes? Yeah? Okay. 70-80%, that's great. And today, I have someone who needs no introduction. He is the founder of the same shoe brand, and we're going to dissect each and every step of that story. Are you excited for that? Okay, great. I'm going to leave some time for the Q&A as well, but I do have some questions that we've taken from you, and I'm going to start with that. Joe, my first question to you is regarding building Reebok. Can you walk us through the journey, how you thought of starting a shoe brand and then started Reebok, and what decisions were really pivotal in that journey?
Not quite so romantic as you think. Not at all. My brother and myself, we worked for the family business, which was J.W. Foster and Sons, athletic shoe manufacturers. And they've been in business since 1895, first with my grandfather, then with my father and uncle. But with my father and uncle, they just didn't get on together. Do you know the story of Rudy Dassler and Adi Dassler? They didn't get on together either. But Rudy left the company and set up Puma. Adi continued with Adidas. Foster's just continued feuding, continued fighting. So when Jeff and I, we did national service, we're talking about 1952, 53. We did our national service and we came back to the family company with our eyes opened. 2 years away from a family company gives you a different perspective. We came back to a failing company. It was going down. I used to speak to my father and say, come on, we've got to do something. Made no difference. And he said, when I'm gone and when your uncle's gone, it's your company. Do what you like. And I said to him, well, unfortunately, Father, this company will go on long before you are. Made no difference. So one day, Jeff and I, having thought about this an awful lot, having gone to night school to learn a bit more about shoemaking and where you get materials from, machinery from, etc., we just left the business. And we set up our own business in the next town because we needed to earn a living. There's nothing romantic, more romantic than that. We needed to earn some money and we needed to stay alive.
You mentioned something that it took you 11 years to get into the US market.
Yes.
A lot of founders would have given up. It's a huge amount of time.
It is.
What kept you going for 11 years and the hope that it'll work?
Well, also apart from the hope it will work, I was having fun. I was learning a lot about a new market. And I was able to go around the exhibition, see what was going on, meet a lot of people, and found it an interesting. Plus the fact that I had faith that we could get into it. It was just a matter of time, and how do we do that? And eventually, on that year 11, we got our 5 stars. You know, you need luck in business, and we were in the right business because the running business that we were in, my grandfather's day, they were all just performance, very small. By the time it got to Jeff and myself getting into business, it had grown. And by the time I've been in America for 11 years. It was massive.
Yeah.
It was absolutely massive.
And you had, even beyond the aerobics, you had some of the great, shoes, which was, let's say, Reebok Freestyle or Reebok Club C85 or Insta Pump Fury, right? Mm-hmm. How did you come up with these winning styles? What was the secret sauce of figuring these out?
Well, the important thing, of course, is to get a big business. And when Arnold first saw aerobics, we were a $9 million business. Then we became a woman's company. And in 4 years' time, we were a $900 million business.
Wow, 9 to 900.
And our biggest problem from a $9 million business to a $900 million business was product. How would you expand your product requirement by 1 million times? And that was our biggest problem. Because we didn't get into these new shoes that you're talking about, the new ideas, until we were a much bigger company. And so we're near a $1 billion company. And we were near at that time to the size of Nike. So we decided that we can't just be a women's company, we've got to do something else. So we moved into tennis, we moved into basketball, we moved into American football. And that's when we had more people in the company. And it does take a lot of people. People have new ideas, and those ideas come off, and that keeps you going and growing. And we grew at that time with these new ideas, these new shoes. We grew bigger than Adidas. We grew bigger than Nike. And we became, in the mid-80s, 1980s, we became the #1 shoe globally.
The $9 to $900 million.
Yes.
How many years? You said
4.
That's huge scale. A lot of organizations break in that, right? Either the systems don't cope up, the processes don't cope up. Can you give us 2-3 learnings that enable an organization to scale that fast?
Well, we were very lucky in the sense that our growth had just started, and Nike, who were probably the biggest company at that time, between them and Adidas, they hit a wall. Running seemed to settle down, and they hit the wall, and they had to come out of 4 different manufacturers who were in South Korea, just when we needed production. And we went into those 4 factories, and that kept us going. The rest of the world, and it was keeping America going, it was the main thing, because the rest of the world wanted the product we couldn't supply until later on. But keeping America going was so important to us that, and with Nike coming out of those 4 manufacturers, allowed us the opportunity to get the product to make sure that we satisfied all our orders.
And did you make any internal changes, like got senior leadership in the organization, set up more systems, processes to scale the organization? Anything that you change in your ways of working as a company?
Everything changed. Everything. Everybody was on sales, but from a company to go from 9 million to 900 million, the whole company exploded. So many more people came in, so many more designers, and so many more. I don't think we had to sell a shoe for 4 years. The orders were just coming in. So when you think about that, and anybody who wants a brand, look for that white space. That white space for us was something incredible. And we gave women something they never had, and that was, we'll say, a sport of their own, something that they owned. And we did it differently because Arnold wanted this in glove leather because he wanted to feel like gloves, and the women loved that. The trouble is that you can't make shoes out of glove leather. Although in saying that, we did make shoes out of glove leather. What we did, we reversed it, and we used the suede side when we were making running shoes. But for aerobics, we wanted the grain, the skin side, and we had to take a piece off that. We had to rub it off and get rid of the grain so that we could put adhesive on it, we could put a glue on it. So glove leather starts at about 1 millimeter thick, which is pretty thin. Then when you take the surface off, it goes down to 0.7 of a millimeter. And you put that into a shoe, and the shoe falls apart pretty quickly. They did line it with nylon, and I said, you can't line it with nylon, it stops it breathing. So what did they do? They punched holes in. They punched holes in the shoe to let the air in, to let the heat out. So the marketing side, I think, of any business is so important. They will find a way, and manufacturing can sometimes be in the way of what makes a shoe into something special. And that made our aerobic shoes something special. But we did eventually remove glove leather and got something which was more like garment leather, which was really good. And having found garment leather, that was a finding in the sports industry that changed everything. Now so many products in the sports footwear are made from garment leather. It's soft, you don't have to break it in. And so we went into tennis. And in fact, we put an advert in tennis. And in tennis, we said, if you don't think these shoes are the best shoes you've ever worn, we'll give you your money back and we'll give you a can of balls. And our strapline on that was, Reebok puts its balls on the line, which was quite interesting at the time. We only had to, Paul bought about 2 cases of balls. We only got through half of 1 case on people sending them back.
So 70s and 80s, great for Reebok. But in 1989 is when you left Reebok.
Yes.
So what was the trigger behind that decision? How did you decide that it was time to move on?
By that time we were, I think, about a $3 billion business. We had a lot of lawyers, a lot of accountants, and a lot of people in between doing everything. And all I was doing, I was on an airplane. I probably went around the globe 3 times a year, calling in at all the distributors. By that time, I had put distribution on globally. So I had a lot of distributors all around the globe. And I'm thinking, well, the excitement's gone. We're big. What can I do? I could have done a lot of things. I could have kept on flying around the world, but no. It was time for me. And I was 55 at the time. So I thought, why not go off and try and enjoy a bit of life? You've been working, running around and doing whatever I've been doing. So I decided to step back.
And in your experience, how have you seen other founders in other industries take that decision? Because sometimes founders are mature enough to say, hey, I'm stepping back. A lot of times founders do want to continue, even if the organization has moved beyond their skill set. So how have you seen founders take these decisions?
Well, I didn't want another global brand. We had one, and that was good. I enjoyed it. And I still associate with the brand. Mm-hmm. All the time, I still associate with the brand. A lot of people ask me about Reebok. And then it was good. It was a good experience. It was a great experience, really. It was fantastic. So I didn't want to do that. I just, okay, I'm happy, step back. Seeking a bit of sun. I went to Tenerife and had some sun. I had a small little business there to holiday lets, just to play around with. And that's when I met my wife.
Mm-hmm. After that?
After that. What did I do after that? Well, I wrote a book. Mm-hmm. Because when I was in Reebok, we didn't have, nobody had computers. I stepped out of Reebok, and in 1990, there were no computers. There were probably some big mainframes, IBM and things like that, but nobody had personal computers. Nobody had telephones. We all have a telephone now. Our lives are on telephones. There was none of that. So I had stepped back, and then we got computers. Then we got telephones. Then we got Google. Then we got Wikipedia. Then they're telling me how Reebok started. And they got it wrong. They got it sadly wrong. And I put up with that for quite some while. And then a few people said, why don't you write your story? And I got so annoyed with how wrong the Google had got the Reebok story that I wrote the book, Shoemaker. And having written the book, it took me a few years to write the book. I've had 2 or 3 attempts and rewriting it. And eventually got it out. It's about 4 years ago since it was published. People started reading it, thank goodness. That was good, yeah. People read it. And some universities then got on the phone and said, Joel, this is a business book. Come and talk to our MBA students, our ENBA students. Come and talk to us and tell us, how did you do it? What happened? People think it's somebody brilliant who does all this stuff, but it wasn't that brilliant. It was a matter of, if anybody takes anything from me, it is just keep at it. Just keep going. Enjoy it. Have fun. Hopefully you'll get luck. We had a good bit of luck, but if you work hard enough, long enough, you'll get some luck. And we had luck. We had a great piece of luck with aerobics, and on it went. It was great to be there. So the universities, they just I'd met Julie by then, and now she handles all the inquiries, and now we just travel. We just travel, whether it's America, whether it's Australia, Europe, wherever. We just travel talking about Reebok, telling the story.
And if you could go back in time and change the story, what things would you change about the Reebok story?
Well, we overtook Adidas. We overtook Nike. We became #1. What's to change?
Our students have a lot of questions for you. So I'm going to shift the gears a little bit and ask my students to ask whatever questions they have for Joe.
So we recently had a dropshipping challenge, and we had so much issues with communicating to our vendors and getting the distribution sorted. You at 90s, like when there was no telephones and no medium, how did you manage to build shoes like globally and maintain distribution globally?
I suppose it's how do we manage to build a business when there was no television, when there was no computers and no phones.
Especially the supply chain part of it. The distribution and the suppliers mostly.
Yeah. Well, I think I explained the distribution because we got ourselves agents. And this was all done by writing letters. In those days, just writing letters. We did have typewriters. We don't have typewriters anymore, but we did have typewriters in those days. So we did it by a letter writer. We did it by advertising. We eventually, the sports shops eventually couldn't exist without Reebok, and eventually they started to buy Reebok, and we had agents. In fact, we did take on a distributor in Britain. We took a distributor in Britain as well, and we just became a brand. And so we used distributors, and that gave us a lot of trouble. We had one distributor who went out of business on us, and we had to go and collect all our shoes, and we had to go and sell them at schools. We went around to schools selling our shoes at half price. But half price was more money than we were getting from our distributors. So we made money. But fortunately, our bank manager didn't find out that we'd lost our distributor. But we did that. My career with Reebok, I started by going around in a car to distributors. Then I started flying around the world to different people. Then I sent other people started doing that, but I was going seeing people. So everything changes, everything moves on. And you start off with one thing, and then of course once we got computers and we got other methods to sell, as Reebok do today, is every country has a website, and you can buy it to every country, as well as the big distributors these days. But in those early days, I don't know if people today could do without their telephones. So all that sort of stuff, it does change. But I do wonder today, because I would probably say when I was in my 30s, I probably had 100 or 200 telephone numbers in my head that I remembered. I just don't think people do that anymore.
No.
They don't know, I don't even know the number of my own mobile phone now. It goes out, say, maybe they're dumbing us down with all this technology.
Yeah.
Maybe they are.
Yes.
I just have one question. Like you've already mentioned, the times are changing. If we were to start a shoe brand now, what's that one thing that we should focus on that will always remain constant or always be there regardless of time?
I think what you have to do if you're going to start a shoe brand today is to find a new technical device. Find something that people can see. We call it VizTech. And you've got to have something. I think On are very good. I think they're Italian now, On. They produced a new sole, and the sole that they have on their shoe, everybody sees it. So everybody wants it. Something different. Whatever you're doing, make something different. We have a startup. He is using 3D printing, which is different. He's using AI to design, 3D printing, scanning your foot, and you can have a shoe made custom fit. So there are things like this which they are changing. They are difficult. Custom fit is difficult because now everybody wants it tomorrow. And with custom fit, it takes at least a month. So, but yeah, find something which is VizTech.
Okay. Oh, there are a lot of questions. Let's go in the middle row here. Yeah.
First of all, thanks for being here. We really resonated a lot with your story because actually we are developing a D2C brand focused on runners. So we're basically developing a recovery cream for runners. And we're actually going to a lot of running clubs to interact with our customers and so on. But anyways, my main question would be, how did you guess or define a good moment to expand to a new market?
I don't think you know, I just think you try it. You always want to keep taking that next step. I think that it depends what you're in. If you're, I don't care what you're in actually. I'd go to America.
But how do you decide the right moment?
What do you call the right moment? It took me 11 years. When you move to another market, it's the same as where you start. You've got to find a white space. It's got to be somewhere where you're aiming for. If you aim for everything, well, your product either has to be cheap or has to be extremely good. Something has to be different. And so when you go anywhere, you have to offer something different that's than what is on that market. And you have to provide it. Everything has to be first class. After sales, everything has to be first class if you go on to a new market, if you intend to make it. Or you have to have a VizTech, something which is different, something that people want. And that's the best way.
Mr. Foster, thank you for all your wisdom. And my question is, what made you sell Reebok back in the day? Was it, or doing a little bit of research, it mentions that you sold it for hundreds of millions, maybe even billions. Was it the amount of money that Adidas offered you, or was it all the effort that you already put in the business that you needed to relax, or was it something completely different?
Well, your research only took you a small way back. I sold before that time. And the reason I sold is we needed money. They were going to pump money in. To go from 9 million to 900 million, how much money does that take? A lot. And I wanted the company to grow. Why not? Why not build a brand? I'm not an entrepreneur in the start, scale, sell. repeat. I'm not that. That's not me. I'm a brand builder. A brand builder wants to see that brand do something, and Reebok needed money. So somebody put in money which would build the brand from 9 million to 900 million. Good enough reason?
And how does that even feel to scale a brand like so much in such a short period of time?
You don't have time to think. Everything is growing so fast. It's just great. It's wonderful. You don't have time to stop and think, what's happening here? Now, all of a sudden, you're spending time with people from Hollywood. We're putting on a pro celeb tennis tournament in Monaco, and you've got all the top people. Sean Connery's there, Roger Moore was there. All these top people were there. You know it can't last, by the way, but at least it's good fun. So, the trend is have fun. This whole thing is going to be about fun, not about money. It's got to be about enjoying your life, enjoying what it is. The three most important things are having fun, more fun, and absolute fun all the time. That's so important.
Hello, Mr. Foster. My question is, like, suppose Reebok hadn't been sold to Adidas, so where do you see Reebok would be today?
Where would Reebok be today? Well, it would have to have found a new man at the top to lead it on for the future. It should be number one today, but I would say that, wouldn't it? But why not? Why not try to be? It can be number one again. It's now owned by ABG. ABG are putting money behind it. They're pushing the shoe out there. They're bringing new shoes out. Julie and I are down in London next month, I think it is, to go through spring-summer deliveries for 1927. We're speaking there and we're talking to the Reebok people because they don't know what happened to Reebok in those early days. Mind you, they've just bought the book, so they should know.
And was that more economical or more emotional decision for you or Reebok to sold your company, like a baby company, to someone else?
It's only money. That's all it is. You don't sell it, they just put money in.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
So I see that you are wearing Club C85s. I am personally a fan of Aztec. But when we are considering the current classics of shoes, which is taking us 30, 40 years behind, so what is the thought process that is going into designing a shoe like this? Which are you thinking of long term that this kind of product will last for 30, 40 years?
Well, I can't think long term anymore. I don't think you have legacy in mind when you design something. I think you just hope it will sell. And if it sells for a long time, then you're very fortunate. I think there are some things in Reebok's range of shoes that have been there forever, and some that will be there forever. And it applies to any brand. There are some things which stay. Why they stay, possibly we won't know. But maybe people just get it in the spirit that they enjoy that particular shoe. But it's good to do something different.
Thank you. I want to follow up on what Enzo asked before. And it's regarding moving into a new market. You mentioned that it took you 11 years to go into the US market.
Yeah.
So I would like to know, how do you actually establish a brand into a new market despite of having different competitors in that specific country?
Yeah, I think you decide if you're going onto a market, what's the best tactics? What are you going in? What have you got that is going to sell on that market? Because a lot of things. I mean, Julie refers to the German market. We went into Germany, and that's going into the lion's den for Reebok because that was going into Adidas and Puma. That's the big market, and they owned it. So we went in there with a new product. We went in there with aerobics. Aerobics did for Reebok such an incredible service because nobody knew of aerobics. We weren't trying to break into the football market. We weren't trying to break into anything. This was new. We're bringing something new to Germany. Why Adidas and Nike stood back for so long, we will never know. But they didn't think that women were reliable. They didn't think that women would be doing it longer than 6 months. And they've admitted to that. but it was big, it was permanent. They were all at it, they all went into aerobics. So Reebok has to thank women. Women did that, and that took them into many, many markets. I was looking after global and putting on global distribution, and I had nothing to do. They were all coming to me, and I just had to pick which ones. We got lucky. Get lucky. That's all I can say. Get lucky.
So thank you very much for having us today. It's been a pleasure listening. My name is Lucas. I'm from Brazil. And so looking back to your story at Reebok, what do you think is your personal superpower, your special traits that made you be where you are today and build Reebok? And when you look at other founders, what's the unique trait that you see that is common from every founder?
Probably not being clever. Probably accepting other people and listening to other people. I think you have to listen to people. There are a lot of people around who are very, very clever with some really good ideas. But then there are other people who will work on them.
Yeah.
And probably being willing to accept those ideas and accept that if you work on them, they can be successful. And there are some good ideas around today. There really are. It's probably easier today to do things than it was in my day, just because of the way you can communicate with everybody. You can communicate, whereas we couldn't communicate. We had to fly there. We had to do things differently. Communication is open. Now it's finding something good. There's so many good things that come out of AI, but they have to be good. And they have to make people want it. I think if it is a superpower, it is listening.
Listening. I think that brings us to the end of this conversation. So can I request all of you to give a standing ovation to the founder of Reebok, Mr. Joe. Thank you so much.